Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. And thanks as always for making us your first listen with the only Chris Level. I'm Casey Cowan, back for another Locked On Texas Tech special edition. It's the Matador Mob Mailbag to spur you on to the weekend, Chris. And we've got a full one once again. We'll get to many different things in our conversation today, but we will get to Christian Anderson's debut and maybe what that means for the company he's going to keep nationally this season as we look ahead to what we know will be an exciting year, but was maybe even more of an exciting debut than we anticipated. Certainly speaking personally, I would fit into that category. We'll also get to some other thoughts from a statistical superlative standpoint. You got to love alliteration on a Friday when it comes to Red Raider hoops and some of these categories where maybe there's an obvious answer as to who leads the way, or maybe it's a guy from Minnesota we didn't expect. Of course, as it pertains to Saturday and Texas Tech and K-State, the biggest thing going in college football this weekend, everything is running to and eventually through Lubbock, Chris. So want to get to a couple of things on that front as far as who could lead the way from a ball carrier standpoint. We've seen this cast of characters sort of alternate here or there between Jacoby Williams and Cam Dickey. Is there somebody, due to the matchup, that you feel like might be in to lead this Saturday? We know that's going to factor in heavily, and that's where I want to start, Chris. They're talking about the movers factoring in heavily, the big boys up front. I think we've impressed upon everybody. The trenches this week are going to play a large part, all literal, no figurative speech there. So questions from several. Lucas, Brandy, Justin, Solomon, Cade, asking about the offensive line outlook for Tech this weekend. If you could sort of highlight where you feel like the challenges are for them across the line of scrimmage, where would you begin? Is it about some pass rushers on the edge? Is it about some bigger guys or some muscle on the interior? Are you just going to say yes?
This is a good defensive line. I don't think there's any like standouts like the Daly kid at Utah. Trying to think of some of the other like top defenders. They're just solid across the board. Where they're going to be, with the data, like the statistics and then the analytical stuff is what it's going to tell you is that they're really good against the run. This is, I mean, you're kind of trying to look in the mirror here a little bit in this way when you're looking at these two teams. I do think you have some more potential explosiveness with some of your players on both sides of the ball, but they've got some of that too. Parker Kingston, Chase Roberts, and obviously their running back is. But this is an outfit that really wants to run the ball and stop the run. Okay, and so that's really where their specialty is on defense. They've got really good linebackers that are very active, that they'll blitz at times. Where their weakness is, or where they're not as strong, however you want to phrase that. This isn't a strong pass rushing outfit at all. There's not, when they get home, it's typically with numbers and scheme, or we're gonna get you with a blitz you didn't see coming from a corner, or just overall numbers. But that's where they don't sack the quarterback much. They don't, but they really do stop the run. So how you want to, I'll tell you that I just think I'm going to highlight him again, but I think in this kind of game, he will be fascinating to watch, because I really think I have a 1 and 1A here. How about that? But I'm going to lean into one first. I just think that this is a game that Terrence Carter will be lined up in a variety of different places, and kind of like what we've seen, but he's kind of like an X Factor guy. And this is stuff that we've said really since September or August, but it's really highlighted in a game like this. The other one is Jacoby Williams, because I think you even saying a while ago, who's going to get the bulk of the carries? I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here. I would say that Cam Dickey will get the bulk of the carries, but Jacoby Williams could get the most meaningful ones. Like he may not get as much of the work or as many touches, but his catches or touches or carries, whatever, could be more meaningful because these are two athletes that other teams have just had a hard time matching up against. And I think I saw this right the other day. I think the BYU defense has given up 20-plus points in the last 5 games in a row. I think that's right. So it's not like you can't score on these guys, and I think you play better offense at home, and we'll see. But your offensive line, because if you start gashing them early or running the ball well early, that's probably not a good sign for BYU. Because you kind of saw that in Manhattan, Kansas right out of the gate. You saw that against Kansas right out of the gate. You saw that a little bit in Salt Lake City right out of the gate. So, and then it continued, whether it's scheme, playing really well, or all the above. And you're looking for that again. Not that you have to run for 200, but again, you gotta be able to go to the well there, even against a good team. This is, strength on strength kind of thing. And that's what they're saying on the other side too. And you can flip it. I mean, hey man, here at BYU, we run the football. We run it for 216 yards a game. I don't care what your ranked are, how good you are. So that they will test that too. They're not going to just not come in here and hand the ball off like, oh no, Texas Tech's ranked really high and they're supposedly really good. No, I mean, so this is where this thing will ultimately be decided. I think special teams and who wins that phase, or is it tied? Because if somebody wins that phase, you'd like to be on the right side of that because they're special teams. We've highlighted yours, but the run and stop the run aspect of it is fascinating just because this is what both teams want to do on both sides of it. And it's kind of what they've built their identity on and portal classes on and coaching it on and the whole toughness thing on and all that stuff.
So it sounds like for David, who was asking about the running back of the day, Jacoby Williams could be that answer in a way that maybe we didn't assume. And also when it comes to Ben asking about the biggest mismatch that could favor Tech, he offered up Terrence Carter, which was the first name you offered up. So I think it sounds like y'all are in agreement there. And for Roan, who was asking about possibly one key as far as a matchup to identify with the most critical eye, the special teams phase is maybe one to look at. Bang, 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 line them up, knock them down. That's what he's here for, folks. Thank you for that question. Guy was asking this question, the Last Buddy Flash, and maybe you touched on this. He says Vegas has got Tech 10.5. We're seeing double digits, Chris. Is there something they know that maybe Red Raiders don't? I'm wondering if you might have just touched on some of that.
Well, I think your home field helps tilt it a bit. I wondered when I saw this number if there was some LJ Martin relation, whether it's a young quarterback, whether they're trying to set the margin to entice a lot of BYU money to come in. I don't know. I always wonder this, like when certain spreads are, you never know. But I do think at the end of the day, with all that factored in, I do think at the end of the day, the analytics and some of the data really suggest to you that this is a well-rounded Texas Tech team, and it's a BYU team that has figured it out and gotten results. But on paper, and these games are not played on paper, that it bodes well for Texas Tech. But that's the beauty of sports. And has Bear Bachmeier had a true freshman type of game yet? I think, Rocco Becht, he threw for, I think, 300 plus against this defense. There's some things that you can get done, but again, I just point to, I think, some of the data, which you can buy into that or not. I just know, but Vegas certainly does. But they're also trying to create an even money scenario here. If you would have asked me on Sunday morning what I thought the number would be, I would have said somewhere between 6.5 and 7.5. Somewhere it seemed like a pretty good sweet spot. I was not expecting to see 10.5 or whatever we saw. And then I immediately thought, well, maybe they know that LJ Martin's not going to play. Well, he's going to play, and it really hadn't moved much. So, yeah, but I don't care. Okay, on that, I don't care if you win 31-30. That's you just want a result. That's all you're looking for here. You win, you cover. Everybody feels good. I get all that, but you're just trying to get a result. And Yeah, that's the extent of my knowledge on the. I mean, we're going to cover that. I have no idea. I think you're trying to win the game. The end.
Ryan did ask about Bear Bachmeyer having a true freshman performance yet. You're going Karnak on us today. I look back at the Arizona game, which was still a win, double OT, but 2 picks, a beautiful 12 for 29 day passing for him. They don't need him to be statistically prolific necessarily, so they're still winning in that situation. If that's the one you want to look at, I don't know, Chris. Do you really think he has? Has there been a weekend where he's looked like a true freshman?
I guess that, I mean, it's as close to it statistically anyways, but they've done a good job of protecting him in terms of putting him in really good situations to succeed. He's taken that and run with it, literally. They're also not asking him to be the hero here and wear the cape. It's just do your thing. But they've also never been in a game yet this year where they haven't been able to really.
First, today's episode brought to you by DoorDash, and it's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. And just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order, this player delivered when it mattered most. This week for Texas Tech, it was Baron Morton back in as QB1 for the Red Raiders, going for 249 and a pair of TDs in a road win over K-State. And just like Baron Morton delivered for Texas Tech, DoorDash delivers for your Saturdays. And with DoorDash Streaks, you can save every Saturday you order. So you can sack it up all season and wind up saving up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday and keep the streak alive. Keep the winning alive by fueling your game day with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promotional period through November 18th.
They've also never been in a game yet this year where they haven't been able to really run it. And they've gotten like way behind or anything. That's really, and maybe this is the first game that they have to deal with some scenarios that they haven't dealt with yet this year. I don't know, but that's I would be real curious if it's like, okay, I don't have that run game or the play action scenarios to lean on. I've got to drop back and we're going to have to sling it. And at this point, you've got your pass rushers coming after you, and you've got a lot of guys that can make plays on the back end of your defense. So, but you would like to think that the crowd will affect him or just the environment will affect him at some level. But he also seems to be somebody that's built a bit different and maybe one of those sickos that's like looking forward to it. I mean, there are those that are out there like, I love this. This is great. Like, bring it on. Like, get louder, as a matter of fact. It'll bring the best out of me. I don't know. But then there's other guys that kind of wilt a bit and melt and like kind of, or because like I go back to like Will Hammond. I don't know if the crowd bothered him at Arizona State, but you were just a bit off all game long, whether that's him or it's the Arizona State defense, and you just kind of keep swinging away, but it didn't look great, right? It was just like there's 13 or 14 guys out there, and that's kind of, it wasn't like all Will Hammond's fault, but you can just tell that there's something just not, and that's what you want to obviously see happen on Saturday if you're rooting for Texas Tech.
All right, let's make a round ball pit stop. Go back to Grant McCaslin's crew. Tyson is asking for a prediction on statistical leaders, points, rebounds, assists. I don't know that we need 3 names, but who's standing out to you to cover those 3 categories?
Is this just for the season?
Yeah.
Or, well, I mean, Christian Anderson is going to lead this team in assists, like going away. It's not even going to be close. Lawan Watts could end up being second. We'll see what his availability is in the coming days.
Second assist man.
Yes.
Interesting. Good.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, points and rebounds is JT Toppin. I mean, he was averaged 18 and 9 and won the Big 12 Player of the Year award, basically leading both statistical categories last year. And
those are still his departments, Chris?
I would say that, yeah, he will be featured in some of those.
And the guy that was out there scored 34 the other night.
Yeah, Christian. Yeah, I'm aware. I'm aware. And he could push JT from like a points per game average, but I think when you get all your pieces back, Christian's obviously not going to have to do that, and you may be better off for it from a team standpoint. But like, because the thing about Christian is he's best when he thinks score, and when he's operating thinking score, I think that's when he really is at his best. In that's when he plays the game the right way, and he will still be a point guard that scores, but I don't think he'll force it a lot. He just seems to, because when he's thinking score, that's when he sees a double team and he makes the right pass, and then there's an open three in the corner and bang, bang, here you go, and all that. But his aggressiveness when he's trying to get downhill and score or catch and shoot or whatever, that's what opens the floor up for so many people. And I think you want him to continue to do that. But there's a lot of firepower over there on that bench, man. Obviously, Toppin and Watts, namely, that didn't play in the opener. That hopefully they are back sooner than later. And I think we may see JT and Luke Bomboye maybe tonight against Sam Houston State Bearcats with a K. But yeah, because Christian is going to be one of these weird players that people are going to try. I think he's probably at the next level, I guess, a point guard. Okay. But he really is a combo guard. Because he's equally as deadly with the ball in his hands or without it. And he's grown a bit. He's added some weight. And I think you're going to see him listed as he may have to have a really special year to make it worth his while to make the leap. I don't know. But those are conversations that you're going to start to see come up a bit. And it is a realistic question to ask aloud. I think it will be, and I've not really shied away from these thoughts about if this is his last year in college or not. Some people may go, oh yeah, like I can totally see that. And other people may like, he's that's a bit too much. But it will be in the ether as we get closer to this year if he continues to play like we think he will play. But he's a combo guard. He's just a guard. What can't he do? And I just it's a big time player, man. I would just say enjoy it. He's the best compliment I can give him, and he's much better than Keenan was at this stage of their career, but he's like Keenan Evans all over again, but better and younger at the same stage in their career. And that's heavy praise. But Keenan also didn't really have somebody like JT Toppin next to him either that was just a freak. Good teammates around him for sure, but not somebody like JT.
We did have Hayden and Joe and also Michael asking about NBA future interest for Christian Anderson. So there's your answer for that. And it kind of made this next answer, I guess, a little difficult, what you're describing, because I don't know how I view him within the context strictly of being a point guard. But Hayden was asking, is Christian Anderson a top 5 point guard in the country right now?
Most are probably not going to say that yet, but I think that, and that's how he'll be viewed in these terms. So like there's a different conversation of what box we can put him in now, because I think he's going to be the point. He's going to be your leader in assists and all that stuff.
Yeah,
he's just going to score a lot to go with it. But at the NBA level, I think he would be viewed probably as a point too, but maybe more so of a combo guard or just a guard in general. And Braden Smith is probably the top point guard in the country. And then there's just a whole bunch of names, a lot of which are in the Big 12 Conference.
Oh.
Tamin Lipsey, Milo Suzan, PJ Haggerty, Rob Wright, and Christian Anderson absolutely 1,000% belongs in those conversations. But and some of this is eye of the beholder. I just say let it play out. But like this is a great conversation to have and to monitor. But and Darren Peterson is a thought to be like kind of a one and done guy. I don't know if I would term him as like a pure point. He's playing for Kansas. There's been some Kobe Bryant comparisons with him, which sounds ludicrous, but that's what basketball people kind of have said. Hey, some similarities there. We'll all find out together. But that's what you're dealing with, not just in the country, but in your own league. And that's why I think a lot of people feel like this is a monster of a league, and you better have – it's kind of like the quarterback scenario this year in football. I mean, it just so happens you have really good ones at the same position that maybe, one would argue is the most important position. And the Big 12 basketball is going to give you the same thing that the football did. Jalen Petty, too, I want to mention this.
First, today's episode brought to you by SupplyHouse. And when the whistle blows on a new repair, you can get your crew moving forward with SupplyHouse. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. SupplyHouse's real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting any projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Needing parts fast for a project? SupplyHouse has next day delivery, and that's a game changer. And their Trademaster perks like priority shipping and dedicated support make any process smoother. Join the free Trademaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. And visit SupplyHouse.com to sign up for free and use our promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's SHCollege5 at SupplyHouse.com for 5% off your first order. Real people, real service at SupplyHouse.com.
Jalen Petty, too, I want to mention this. I think is maybe your point guard of the future, So regardless, you feel like you're in good spot now and in the future, regardless of what Christian Anderson does after this year. But CA, man, this is a take it all in. You don't know if you'll get it again next year. Maybe, but maybe not.
Man, and I'm just thinking about the 34 the other night, and then you're talking about Watts and Toppin, and they'll be back on the floor, and the other guys, we're going to be averaging about 135 points a game, I think. That could be good enough to win it all. I can't wait to see.
Well, the trickiest part of this whole thing is like, how do you acclimate these pieces together quickly? Because you're about to get dropped into the deep end of the pool in Champaign, Illinois next week.
Man, you know what? I think that's how you do it in part, Chris. Like you go through that.
And maybe
you galvanize yourself a bit as a team, for better or worse, I guess, on the scoreboard. But that kind of thing, I think, helps that process.
And I hope people will grasp that you're not going to win all these non-conference games. It's not going to happen. And that's okay. But my point of bringing that up all is that there's nobody better at the mesh than the head coach. And then I think this player has a lot of characteristics in because he just sees it all. He sees it before it's about to happen. He doesn't overthink it. He makes what we may think is the difficult play, but he just makes the easy play and the right play over and over and over again. It's like it's like I used to tell my kid, because I used to see this stuff from Michael Jordan. Like everybody wants to go out in the gym when they've got a empty gym and a basketball, and they just go out and they just start bombing threes. Then you get out there and you're having fun. You start throwing up half court. I just got a little time. I'm just having fun. And Michael Jordan used to say, "Why does nobody just stand there and make the elbow jumper over and over and over again and never get bored with it?" Because that's where it's like the simple plays. But this is like Christian Anderson. It may not be flashy, but he just makes the right play and often makes it look easy. And that's the beauty of his game to me. The pace, he plays at different speeds and always kind of has you on your heels. And it's like this orchestra conductor. It's very fun to watch. But that will help acclimate everybody quickly too, because he's going to make the right play. I mean, more often than not.
Yeah, and man, just thinking about the age as you're saying all that kind of stuff, still something to keep in mind. The schedule is crazy when it comes to that kind of progress. Let's get back to the gridiron, and I want to get back to some game situations actually from last week that were interesting to say the least. but maybe a little bit lost in the shuffle, given the fact that eventually you get to a 23-point win. But Chris, can we go back first? My man Wayne is asking about the conclusion of the first half and some of the clock decisions or timeout decisions that we saw in Manhattan. Just to remind everyone, if you have forgotten, you were in sort of a no man's land kind of situation. It was 9-7. You had a 9-7 lead. You get to the K-State 44, so you're in opponent territory, but sort of barely. And you're rocking around 50 seconds after you have a run to make it 4th and 1. And then, if I remember correctly, there's 25, 26 seconds to go off the clock before you take a timeout at 24. And it's during those 25 seconds that people began to wonder, what the hell's going on? Again, K-State 44. So now you're at the 24-second mark. You run a play with Jacoby Williams, timeout, 20 seconds, yada, yada, yada. You eventually get to a big boot from Stone Harrington, 55 yards through the uprights. An interesting and entertaining reaction from Joey McGuire with Chris Level on the radio at the halftime break. But
yes, it was.
It was kind of a precarious score, spot on the field, 4th and 1. Do you have a feel for what was playing out or what they wanted to play out there?
Well, okay, so the context is, and I know everybody was kind of losing their mind on it, but here's all the things that you've got to be thinking at the time, and you don't want to give the other guy enough time to do anything else. You're trying to be purposeful about, if anything, let's make sure we have the last offensive play here of the half. You had given up a few explosive plays to their quarterback, and I think they had a pretty good kicker that was I think 10 of 11 coming into the game, and so you just don't want to. And because at this point it was 9-7. And you could ensure that you had the lead going into halftime, whether that's a real thing or a mental thing or not. But I mean, you could ultimately, and then you also had a hard time on offense for the most part. Like it wasn't just it hadn't really clicked just yet. Yeah, you made some plays and all that, but just the scoreboard just wasn't really showing. You were also coming off of a missed extra point. And so that's what I was thinking. Like, man, are you really setting it up to take a long field goal? Because I just watched the kicker get absolutely chewed out, and I could see that it was a bad snap. And we actually missed something. We kind of thought that maybe Ryan Vagana was the deep snapper at the time, and that they had inserted Jason Llewellyn after that. It was actually, I think, Jason Llewellyn all along, and the snap wasn't terrible. It was off to the side just a bit, enough to throw the timing off and all that. So you're factoring in all that stuff. But I really want to say to you that I didn't ask Joey about this after the game. I only have 3 or 4 minutes, and there was so much that happened in the second half and the historical, perspective that we got into. That I really want to say that mostly had to do with you not wanting to give them any opportunity. And like I want to, we're like, why don't you be aggressive? Because they did show you that aggressive. Speaking of the 4th and 1, you did get really aggressive at other times where I'm like, what are they doing? Like, oh my God, like that's a ballsy call, man. Which was later in the second half when they threw a deep shot, I think.
Yeah, that's the other situation I wanted to shout out Eric for asking about, because this is, again, just something that, like, you kind of lose it in the wash, but let me set the table for that, because that's when Texas Tech has a 22-14 lead. You're deep in K-State territory, but you are facing a 4th and 1. And then all of a sudden, not only are you converting, but you're converting in a big way with a big pass to Caleb Douglas. So Eric was kind of asking, is that a call from the sideline? Is that Baron Morton at the line of scrimmage? How did that come together? Because, man, gutsy is definitely the word.
Yeah, I think you're looking for a certain thing. I think that the play structure was ideal because you kind of had this bunch formation, and the 4th and 1s are scary. And if you're on defense, you've got everybody kind of in that, and that's when a lot of big plays happen. And this was no different, because Barron just got to really make an easier throw where he just kind of got to lob it up, because that was the Caleb Douglas one that I still don't understand how it was not called a touchdown. Beyond me. And again, no explanation whatsoever, which is just inexcusable to me. It didn't matter. Okay. I get all that, but the fact that there's no transparency, and this is what causes everybody to be so frustrated, because we've upheld the call Okay, what else? Then what? Okay, but the throw. I mean, you almost could have gotten a penalty on that one too, because I think that Kansas State was like, oh no, because it's all bunched up, and Douglas just kind of like pops out of there, and it's like, oh, we got us, and yeah. But that's a ballsy call, man. That's a ballsy call, and it worked. And so, are you playing percentages there? Are you like, man, we don't want to go into halftime and not have the lead? And I don't know all of what went on and some of that stuff, but that's what makes this stuff fun too, because you never know exact. I've often said this, like the NASCAR or the F1 or whatever they do with the headsets with the crew chiefs and all that, and you can buy the feeds to that so you can listen to what. I would love to hear a football feed.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think that would, if the NFL ever wants to make more money, or colleges want to make more money, if you could sell that now, it would open up a whole other can of worms, because you'd start hearing what people think and giving away this and that. It may not be realistic, but yeah, you ever want to just print money, sell that to people, because they'd never listen to our radio broadcast again. I mean, and I'd be like, yeah, I don't want to do radio either. I want to hear what they're thinking, what they're doing, what their call is next. But it probably wouldn't work in a football game. You couldn't really do that, but you get what I'm saying. So yeah, I don't know if I've answered it, but all I can do is offer up an opinion, or kind of maybe what they were thinking. But I was thinking the same thing at the time when they dropped back and chunked it. But also know that, you're really not best suited for 4th and 1 scenarios. You have a quarterback that you don't want to sneak it. You have gone to some Wildcat stuff, which is, there's some tricks there, but in a traditional sense, this isn't necessarily what you're built best for. So that may also be easier to kind of go, screw it, let's chunk it deep. Let's get them. They show us the look and all those things. You see what I'm saying? I mean, like, it just goes back to, Barron's just not going to be a QB sneak guy. And I don't think they want to run him much. So you can't like trick somebody on a speed option or whatever. And then, I guess you can show somebody an I formation with a lead blocker. I mean, how about this? You do realize that we'll never see it run, and it kills me that we won't. But you do realize that, because we've talked about this on the broadcast, now that he's hurt, but they had a play in the playbook called Milwaukee, and it was for Skylar Howard in the goal line, and AJ Holmes is the lead blocker. So
give me a minute, Chris. Give me a minute with that one. I need to. What could have been? What could have been? Hey, shout out to the guy. He's not here yet, but was it Mr. Brewster? I saw just rumbling, stumbling. There wasn't a lot of stumbling. He looked pretty good with the ball in his hands. The commit was that the Cedar Hill guy?
Jalen Brewster, yes.
The video went viral.
It reminded me of Jalen Hutchings, his high school highlights back in the day, because they were trying to get him a carry. So I would just say this: keep your head on a swivel for some different things this weekend, and when you need it. There are things that teams practice all season long, and you kind of carry it, and then there's times where it's like, man, we just haven't got to it. Then when you get to a game like this, it's like, now's the time to push that button if we need to. What are we saving it for? And then there's also things that, for games like this, and this goes for the opposition too, because they're in the same boat, but there's things that you put in just for instances like this. So keep an eye on that. File it away. How about that?
We saw exactly, I think, what we forecasted about this time last week when it came to trying to keep some wrinkles and short yardage or in the red zone in the offense, with no Will Hammond now, and obviously Morton banged up, and we were seeing some Morton in motion. We were seeing some direct snaps to running backs. I don't know if Terrence Carter got one or not, but guys similar. And I'm sure we will see that again, and I love to see it. So I can't wait to see it again personally, because it just is a wrinkle that's kind of hard to deal with. I expect maybe for a mature team like BYU, it may be a bit more of a challenge than with some others, but I've enjoyed that component of Mac Leftwich's approach whenever we've had to get into some of those situations. Chris, go ahead.
Well, it's not a necessity part of it, but it's also like, you know, because sometimes, Cowan, sometimes it's as simple as let's show them something different. Let's line up in something different, and maybe they'll burn a timeout. You know, maybe they'll burn one, and like sometimes that's the intention. You know, like a lot of times that's I think Kenny Perry does the swing and gate deal a lot. You know, just shows them. Just be like, okay, it's a game of chicken. Like, you're going to burn one, or are you just going to let us like kind of motion back over, or
making guys think too? And if somebody's not thinking, then you just run it and you take advantage.
And in an environment like Saturday, when you've got sensation overload going, and there's not 3 rings of the circus, there's an extra 2. It's a 5-ring circus, and the clowns are over here, the elephants are over here, the trapeze guys here. Sometimes you get somebody, you know, caught going, and then that's all it takes. I mean, and that's why coaches do it. So it's all about trying to be where your feet are and stay in the moment. But this is exactly why. But some of it is as simple as, hey man, we just want to see if they maybe burn one, because those are valuable in games like this too.
Yeah, see who flinches in some way.
Yes.
Just take advantage of it. It can be a thinking man's sport. Doesn't have to be all the time necessarily, but there are opportunities for some thinking. Chris, I'm glad you brought that up, by the way. When they went ahead and made Caleb Douglas's touchdown not a touchdown, that was a cool moment from the Review Center, among some other cool, interesting, and neat moments from the Review Center on Saturday. And we did have a few asking if there was any feedback or anything along those lines that you know of from the Big 12. We had Jennifer and John, Mitch also asking about any officiating beef from last week that Tech heard about following some submissions.
So you watched this game.
I did.
Are they showing you the what the Review Center is looking at?
Not that I know of, unless it's strictly the same as what the TV audience gets. But we're not getting like the in-room view. No.
So at some point, they said they were going to do this. At some point, what the ACC is doing is they are taking you inside the Review Center, but then you also are getting audio. It's not just the visuals.
Yep.
It's like you can hear the discussion. Okay, we all in agreement here? Okay, so we see the ball come out, or we see this or that. And this is because unfortunately, like the white hat in that scenario there, he gets a lot of the blame and the angst and all that. Some of these are not his decision. He's just relaying it, and he just happens to be the the guy that is the face of
one there.
Right. But
imagine him telling them, Chris, like, are you guys sure? I think you should look at it again. I'm not about to step out here and tell the home crowd.
Those guys all have thick skin. They're all well paid, but I just it's disgusting with as much as is on the line here that you don't get more explanation for something like that. Like in every college and pro game, it's waist, ankle, knee, shin. When that's down, that you're down. A hand being down and the ball breaking the plane, and it doesn't have to cross it. It just has to just glance it, or like you'll be right there, and then it that is a touch. So there's just. I mean, it makes my head want to explode. Like, and then you just say, it's upheld. Like, what's upheld? Your bad call? Like, why? you have to be told why, because, and then you want to know why people get so mad at officials and start throwing stuff on the field at Arizona State. And hey, ref, you suck. And there's going to be some of these calls that are subjective. Like targeting is the tricky one, because tell me why. Some guy thinks it's targeting, some guy doesn't. Looks like the same hit to me, different games, and this and that. And that's very subjective. Like, you can't review everything like pass interference and all that stuff, right? But as far as like touchdown, this is, I mean, I just don't get it. I don't get it. And it's unfortunate. And there's just too much at stake. Luckily, this didn't matter. This was one that you could file away, and you ended up scoring on the next play and all that stuff. So, but anyway, I digress. I'm sorry for taking up everybody's time whining about officiating. Shame on me.
Not at all. So you don't have much of a take on that situation, is what you're saying. The explanation, I think, on television was that there wasn't a down the line look at Douglas's touchdown. So I guess they must have removed the capacity to use
put a
their
camera
brains.
in the pylon.
It didn't matter because what they were showing us would show anybody with even a marginally functioning mind.
Yeah,
he was across and he wasn't down.
But like, fix that. Like, why don't you have a camera down the pylon or down the goal line in the pylon? I mean, it just like there's so much technology. This was national television. That's no excuse. I just think that's poor reasoning there. And I will say this too. It's funny, like when the roles are a bit different. Like when I did TV the other night for basketball, it's amazing how different the officials are toward you compared to when you're like doing a radio for one of the teams. But like Marquise Pettigrew, Chance Moore, and Michael Greenstein were the three officials. They are veteran Big 12 officials. I actually greatly appreciated. They all came over to me. They talked to me and my broadcast partner, John Harris. There's some subtle rules changes during some of the confusion during the game. I get somebody to come over to me and explain. That is to be applauded. I love that. I have great respect for that. And it made sense. And I'm like, but the other shrouded in secrecy, or we're just not going to tell you. I just don't know if I can jive with that. So anyways, whatever.
It's ripe for frustration. You could just say that.
Yes.
By all parties.
Yes. And the process is the most frustrating part and leads to the bulk of the frustration. It's been upheld. What's been upheld? What? What exactly?
The mistake. I'm thinking about using that at home, though, as the kids get older and they're starting to rebuff my arguments. It doesn't matter. It's been upheld, confirmed. We're moving on. Next play. All right. Yes. Thank you for that question. We have a list of several. Patrick, Austin, Kevin, Trent. We have Roger. We have Brandon. We have Caleb and Lance. We also have Lucas. We have Sherry, Lisa, Brent. I'm probably missing some, so I apologize to whoever I did. But Chris, in general, the gist, let's take Kyle's wording here. This seems like the biggest recruiting weekend I've ever seen for Texas Tech football. Are there actually 40 or more set to be in attendance? And can we talk notables? But to hear the answer to that, you'll need to be a Matador Mob insider. So hit the show notes and find a link to a free 14-day trial. For those on the outside, this is where we leave you. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you don't miss a thing, and become a Matador Mobster today for less than a cup of coffee a month so you can get the full Mailbag experience next week. Hope everybody has a fantastic weekend and you're spending a lot of it at the Jones on Saturday. Chris, I know you'll be there. Thanks for the regulation time. It is on to the OT.
Big recruiting weekend, you say. Interesting. Yes, it is. I truly hope that those of you out there that have watched these shows that will be in the vicinity of Jones AT&T, that you really enjoy these times. It seems like everybody's had a good time. There's a lot of mutual respect between opponent and home team and all these things. And this is what everybody wanted. This is what everybody hoped for. And you have it dropped in your lap. And however you choose to consume this weekend and be a part of it, I hope that you're safe and you enjoy it and appreciate it, because these are unprecedented times. And seriously, enjoy it, have a good time, and we'll see what happens. And but this is kind of what everybody was hoping and wanting. And here it is, man. Your dreams have mostly come true, but obviously there's more work to be done. But yeah, man, and enjoy it.
Yeah, the biggest one yet to come true, but you are doing a lot of work in that direction with some success this weekend. Yeah. So happy Jovember, everyone. You're playing meaningful football within it, to say the least. Hope you have a great weekend wherever you are spending it. Thanks for dialing us up. Of course, thanks to the Everydayers for always being out there, and the Matador Mob. Hit our show notes and find a link to a free 14-day trial if you're interested in joining that crew. Your direct line to Chris and myself with one-on-one text sent straight to your phone. For Chris, I'm Casey. Thanks as always for the time. We hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.